None of my favorite Lord of the Rings movies were made by Peter Jackson. This might be surprising to those that know me personally, but it's true.
What's it doing? Stupid fat Hobbit. He ruins it.
While I do love Peter Jackson's original trilogy of films, they will never mean as much to me as this film does.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Many ages ago, when this ancient planet was not quite so ancient, long before man recorded his history, there was the time of Middle-earth, when man shared his days with elves, dwarves, wizards, goblins, dragons, and hobbits.
This story begins with a VHS my father let me watch when I was a child, and it will be a movie that I would watch over and over again. This animated masterpiece was a TV special for children produced by Rankin and Bass Productions. The film is an adaptation of the 1937 The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien and was first broadcasted on NBC in the United States on Sunday, November 27th, 1977. With a runtime of a little over 77 minutes, it is a much more condensed version of the book than the other versions of it, but that does not mean it is lacking in charm.
Bamboo at your service.
We are all at your service.
Some of the scenes from this and the other animated versions of Tolkien's work can seem to be mimicked or almost copied from shot to shot in some of the live-action remakes decades later. My favorite character in The Hobbit when I was a child was by far Gandalf, who was voiced by the legendary Hollywood director John Huston and notably known for writing and directing The Maltese Falcon.
I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Probably one of the reasons for my bias is the music in this version, which has a lot of the songs that are from the books. And if you get a chance, I please beg you to listen to the soundtrack, and you will be pleasantly surprised, I promise. If you like the live-action versions of The Lord of the Rings, that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I would be remiss if I did not turn your attention to this well-thought-out treasure that was definitely made with love. In showing my wife this movie for the first time, it struck me how different children's movies are today and how silly they are in a lot of ways, and not the same level of quality of children's films from this era. And maybe I'm just a grumpy old dwarf in my mountain, but I think that if kids are going to be sitting in front of a screen, there should at least be something worthwhile in front of them. And I wouldn't describe much of what's being made for kids now to fall into that category. I'm going to be talking about some spoilers from this point on, so if you don't want to have something spoiled from this book that came out in 1937 for you, go right on ahead and skip out of this video and go watch the movie, or even better, go read the book. Definitely go read the book if you haven't done it yet. I mean, it's The Hobbit. It's like one of the greatest books of all time. Just all of J.J.R. Tolkien's work. Like, go read it now. Thanks. I remember being brought to tears when King Thorin died at the end of the Battle of the Five Armies. And it wasn't because it was edgy, graphic, or traumatizing. It was because you could see Thorin's beginning as the vagabond king with no kingdom, and see little glimpses of arrogance along the way, and bright points too, which comes to a head after Lake Town kills Smaug and he and his family have their home back. He doesn't try to dumb down things on Thorin's story, instead showing him as a flawed person who is prideful, stuck up, and won't listen to others even when he knows they're right. It's something that even gets me to this day, and you won't see almost anything like that in a film made for children today. And the part when he finally does pass away and apologizes to Bilbo, that's probably one of the better scenes of the film. If you are interested, go watch it. It'll only take a little over an hour of your day, which equals to about the same amount of time most people spend sitting on the toilet scrolling through TikTok. So, I mean, the time's there. It's just where you're putting it. Kind of a side note, in the next year of 1978, another film studio completely unrelated to this Hobbit film released a film animated version of The Lord of the Rings that was basically the Fellowship of the Rings and the Two Towers in one movie. They never got to make their sequel because of internal studio disagreements, but coincidentally, the group from Rankin and Bass had already been planning to make a sequel to their Hobbit movie, skipping over the Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers to just deal with the story of the Return of the King. And you might be saying, Sandy, what does this have to do with anything? Don't worry, I am almost to the point. In 1987, Warner Brothers acquired the rights to all 3 films and started marketing them as a trilogy, which often confuses people with the drastic differences in art styles from the quote-unquote middle film of the trilogy and the Rankin and Bass versions. I don't think I'm going to rank this in the way that I rank other films or trilogies, like on a 1 to 10 system, but I think I will just state this simply, that these are one group of films to rule them all. And that one little Hobbit, whether animated or live action, can definitely inspire a lot of good in young hearts and minds.